Okay, this is a scope Q&A for Web234, running a little late tonight on the scopes. And so if you are watching, looks like I have a couple connections already. This is for Web234, PHP programming. I'm going to go over week 2, and week 2 goes over PHP variables and constants. There is a podcast that you'll need to watch. Also want to make note, there is times in the discussion or instructions that I use Web 290, and we just recently changed the course to Web 234. And so if you see anything about Web 290 or it's in an instruction I haven't changed, it is Web 234 I'm referring to. I wanted to make mention on just general course navigation for XAMPP. When you're installing XAMPP and running XAMPP, there's two things you need to make sure you start in XAMPP. Now I run on Mac, so on Windows, I'll show you my screen. On my XAMPP module or XAMPP server, notice I only have MySQL and Apache running. That's all you need. Mention is file structure for your course, for your labs and your homework. Each week's labs are for your benefit. They're not to be turned in. Each week's assignments, though, are to be turned in. You did create on week 1 an external site. That URL, though, does not technically need to be used until the end of the semester. It's good practice, though, to begin playing around with it on how to FTP your local files to your web server. And there are instructions for how to do that in the modules. If you go on the left side in Eagle, there's a modules link, and from that modules link, click on, under course documents, uploading to external host. And I have a video and how to upload your files to your free web host. And so there is a HTML editor called Composer you can use, or you can use any other web server like Dreamweaver. If you're familiar with that and you have that on your computer, you can use that to manage your website files. And then there was an example site here that I created. This is actually of our homepage, basically, for this semester, that I put out on a free site. And so you'll follow the podcast. I'll give you some examples here, like say, for instance, on week 2, which we're currently in, let's say your website is this here. Mine's chucon.by the host 33.com, and I wanted to FTP it up to this site. I would look in my htdocs folder, and I would FTP up to this website the entire Web234 folder. And then my URL would be maybe projects, and then week 2 and index.php. And so by uploading the root of this Web234 folder, I would get the contents of that. Now let me show you structurally, file management wise, what your files should look like, or could look like. You'll notice in mine here is my htdocs. And inside my htdocs, I have a Web 234 or Web 290 folder is what I use, because we changed it to Web 234 just recently. And then here is my lab folders for the week and my project folders for the week. So the way to browse out to that on my computer, once XAMPP is running, and I have on my XAMPP, as I showed earlier, MySQL database and Apache running, I'm going to go to my web browser here and type in localhost, and then Web290. And so when I typed in Web290, I'm actually hitting this folder here. If I can minimize that, hitting this folder here. But I want to go into well, maybe I want to go into this, look and see what is inside my labs folder. Let's do that. So in that case, I would just replace Web290. And by the way, Web290 is in the root of my htdocs, and so is labs. So I'm going to replace Web290 with labs. And notice I get a folder structure just like on my Mac computer on the web. And then I can click on each one of these folders to get to those files. If you get an undefined region, if you copied my template from week 1, I will show you how to get rid of that. Basically, the reason it looks like that is I do not have, if I go into week 2 here and open up this file, I do not have this nav.php file. So I would just comment that out for right now. Save it. And then click on that again. And there you go. There's week 2 assignment. Check conquest 301 in dog years. So I wanted to show you navigationally because some of you are having issues on getting to your local host files. So I wanted to show you that. The major thing to get your head wrapped around in week 1 and 2 here is, again, where you're placing your files. It always should be in the root of htdocs. And I suggest a folder like Web234, which that's the name of our course now. And then placing in that folder 2 subfolders at least, a labs folder and a projects folder. The labs folder I do not get. It's for your benefit. The projects folder I do get. I do receive each week, and you upload compress them and upload them when you're finished. Now let's get to week 2. Week 2, again, you're investigating variables and variable types. And let's get to the reading here. In week 2, the first thing is a podcast. And again, if you see anything about, hear anything about Web290, just know that's Web234. Also, if there's any dates in there that do not pertain to our course, disregard those. But the reading this week from the PHP Basics, which is a PDF, you'll read that. It's just a PDF file on PHP Basics. And then Practical PHP, there's a number of sections you need to read. 2.6 through 2.10, 3.1 through 3 is what you'll read. So you'll click on that link and do the reading there. And it goes over simple variables and operations on 3, and on 2, an introduction to PHP. So you're doing an intro to PHP on the reading this week and simple variables and operations. So do your reading. So watch podcasts, do your reading. Then there is a YouTube podcast that you'll need to watch. You'll watch that, which goes over the week 2 variables in PHP. Then you'll go into your lab. The lab this week is the age, finding your age and tweaking it. There is a source code that you can lab, and I even put in there a structure for files, which I recommend. You'll notice in my structure, I just have, right in htdocs, I just have labs and then week 2. I don't even include in the example here Web234, so you don't have to do that if you don't want. You just put in the root of your htdocs labs and the root projects to make it easier. And again, practice labs are not graded, do not need to be uploaded. So your very first PHP application example is the my age in dog years, which this is an older one here. when I did this one. I think I was 43. So I'm going to show you how this works. You'll download the zip file, which has the source code, view the example here, and then tweak it to fit your age. So I'm going to go ahead and go into source code for week 2. Let's go this way. Labs, week 2. And I'm on a Mac, so I'm using Text Wrangler. If you're on a PC, you're using Notepad++. So here's the code. So let's get to the meat of it. We got the beginning PHP tag. I have a variable called name. You're going to replace my name with your name. Age. Replace it with your new age, with your current age. And then variable called dog age equals age times 7. It's going to echo out that your name, and then echo out a space is space the age, dog age, and then finally it's going to echo out in a space in dog years. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and go to my local host, and it was let's see here. Let's go to week 2, and Chuck Conkle is 336 in dog years. So that's it for week 2's lab. Now let's go on into the discussion you'll answer, which is what's the different about variables in PHP from other languages you've taken. You'll just type in your answer here and reply. There's no incorrect answer except not answering. For homework, week 2, homework week 2, or you can do projects week 2. So the exercise here is read and complete the exercise from the URL above where you see PHP Basics, pages 11 through 13 on passing variables. So this should link to a PDF page, and we're looking for PHP Basics, page 11 and 13. PHP Basics, page 11 through 13. So let's click on that. Open it up. And let's find pages 11 and 13. And you'll do all the reading up to 11 and 13. So here it is, starting with page 11. It gives an example of just kicking out the hello George on this one. Then notice it gets right into passing variables in a URL, and that's a part where you need to focus on. Because in the assignment it said to look at page 11 through 13 on specifically passing variables on the URL. You're going to create your own passing of variables on the URL. The below example uses the name of the Beatles. And so here's the source code you can download. And let's look at the example before we go into the reading. So you'll notice here, when I hover over Paul, if you notice down here at the bottom of my browser, when I hover over in a second, I'll hover over Paul, notice down there, Paul, it says, hello.php question mark Beetle equals Paul. I'm going to hover over John. It says Beetle equals John. Hover over George, Beetle equals George. Hover over Ringo, Beetle equals Ringo. And what this means is we're passing the variable Beetle with different values. So Beetle could be Paul, John, George, or Ringo. So in the homework, or in the reading, go and read the variables, how to pass them, what it talks about. Basically, though, it's the name of the file you're pointing to, question mark, this is a variable name, and then to the right of the equal sign is going to be the value. Now, to concatenate variables, you would actually concatenate it with the ampersand. So in this case, we're passing a variable greet and who both, with greet is going to be hello and who is going to be world. So here's an example. Say the file that you were on is called hellohi.html, and you're wanting to go to hellohi.php and send some variables over to that file. And the variable in this case is called greet, and it could either be hello, hi, or howdy. On the hellohi.php, notice it's using what's called the get command. The get command will look at the browser URL and look for the word greet, which is right here, as being passed, and plug it into the variable greeting. So if this link was clicked on, greet would be populated with hello. This was clicked on hi, this one was clicked on howdy. It goes on and talks more about the hello, who, but all you need to do is stop actually right here, which it goes over, open the who.html in your editor, modify it. So the 4 links go to Paul, John, George, or Ringo, and then edit it to your liking. So let me show you what it looks like. I'll go back again to week 2 projects, and we're going into week 2, and notice there's 2 files here, index, which is a main page, and then hello who.php. Let's look at index first, and then I'll go down to and open up hello who second. So the index is pretty easy. It's pointing to hello who, and passing the reference variable Beetle with either Paul, John, George, or Ringo. The hello who, as you guessed, is using the get command to look for the word Beetle in the pass by reference, and then it's going to put it in the variable called Beetle. The title command of the page is going to echo out hello space whatever the Beetle was. It could be either Paul, John, Ringo, or George. Then it's also going to echo out in the body of the page that Beetle. So let's see what it looks like. So here is my localhost labs. I'm going to, nope, I don't want labs, I want projects. And we're going to week 2. And there it is. Paul, John, George, and Ringo, but it looks like I need to get rid of comment out because I do not have the nav information there. So let's comment that out. So choose a Beetle to greet. So I'm going to click on Paul first. Hello, Paul. Notice it's also in the title command. The title. Hello, Paul, and hello, Paul. Let's go back and do the next one. John, and George, then Ringo. So what you're going to do for week 2 is manipulate this Beetle file that you downloaded to your liking, and it could be just 4 other options or more options besides 4. that you click on. It could be your favorite food, it could be your favorite drink, whatever. But you're going to create your own example of passing a variable by URL, and just use a Beetle example here. And this is the code you can download, and this is the example. An option is to also upload it to your external host, but that is not required. But if you want to know how to do that, you can click on that to find out. And that questions on week 2. Any questions on week 2? Again, if you just do your reading as it has in the module, you watch a podcast, look at the source code example I gave you for each one, both for the lab and also for the assignment, I think you're good to go. Take your time. Try to be as creative as possible. Like this week, I give you the Beatles as an example, but you can create, what your favorite cars are, and be able to click on a link that would take you to different cars. And if you want to be more creative, you could add on the pages you're going to, maybe an image of a car possibly if you wanted to. And so just be as creative as you want to be. If you have any questions, you can email me as always, or chat with me through the website. So have a great week, and I will talk to you next week.